And because nothing was working, I was like, you know what? I feel like my only option right now is to make myself throw up.
Welcome to Sips and Sets. I'm your host, Silic, and this podcast is all about combining the energy of your morning coffee with the determination you put into living your best life. Sips and Sets is here to inspire you to tackle life head on, one sip and one set at a time. Hey guys, welcome back to the latest episode of the Sips and Sets podcast. I am your host, Nina Silic, and I'm really excited today because I am joined by my very first guest, who is someone I very much admire, not only what she's achieved in fitness and health and fitness in general, but what she's also managed to achieve in business. It's pretty incredible. So I'm very, very excited to share her story with you. So I am joined by the wonderful Daniella Del Carpio. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
I love it. Welcome. I'm super excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honestly so excited to be here and to be your first guest in the podcast. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like when you told me about the idea, I was like, yeah, let's get it done. I was just so happy. And thank you. Yeah, thank you for the nice words. I think the same goes to you. And I told you this before, like you're very inspiring with like everything that you do with your business. And I was like, well, this girl, this woman is like killing it. So I'm just so proud of you for doing this and for everything that you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm so excited we've been able to see like each other's journey and both like health and fitness
Mhm.
and business, which has
Yeah.
been very, very exciting. But today I want to start with you. You have quite a unique story, and I want to kind of share that with everybody first. You've had quite the fitness career, but let's start with where were you before the fitness journey started? Like, what did that look like? What did life look like before fitness, real quick?
Wow. Okay. So that's kind of like how many years ago? Maybe like 14, 15 years ago. Yeah, because I started with my fitness journey when I was maybe 15, 14, so very, very young. So before that, I was in high school. We moved countries. So I was born and raised in Peru. We moved here to New Zealand. So right now I'm living here in New Zealand. And I think that change was the thing that kind of like got me started with my fitness. But before I started with the gym, yeah, I was just very lonely, new country, no friends, no language. I was very upset. I was using food as my emotional pillow, I like to call it, the thing that will make me feel better, feel good, because it was really sad, when you're 14, or I think it was 13 or 14, when you're so young, you move to a complete different country, you have no friends, you cannot speak the language. And for me, that was like such a big change.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was crazy. It was honestly crazy. Like now looking back, I kind of like laugh about it. But back then it was like, wow, it was like a whole journey. And not just for me, obviously like for my mom. She lived everything, her friends, her family, everything, my sister, my dad, like everyone. So yeah, it was a crazy journey. It was a crazy, lonely, long, challenging journey before my fitness journey. Yeah.
You mentioned that's wild for anyone. Like as an adult, I've moved countries and that was challenging without even having to change what language I was speaking. So I
Mm.
can imagine at 14, 15, changing countries, like leaving your whole life and then not even being able to speak the language. Like that's a whole nother thing. So you mentioned that you then turned to food as like your comfort. Tell me a little bit more about what that looked like.
Yeah, so back then, obviously I knew nothing about fitness. I knew nothing. So back then, for me, because I was not really going out, on the weekends or after school with my friends because I didn't really have any friends. So I would just go home. There will always be, because at that time we were staying with my uncle because we didn't have a home when we arrived to this country. We're staying with my uncle, so because, my family, like Latin people, they always have food around. So I was like, yep, I want to try this new country again. I want to try new things. Back home, we didn't have McDonald's, we didn't have KFC, we didn't have any of those takeaways. So I was like, everything was new to me. And when something is new, you want to try that. So I was like, yeah, let's go try McDonald's, let's go try this. And I just feel like I was trying too many things, I was eating too many things, and I feel like, oh, I can feel something. Like, I started to feel a little bit uncomfortable with my body. I didn't like the way my body was looking because I was gaining a bit of weight, a lot of weight. And it was showing mainly for me on my face, and my face grew so much. And my face, my body, and I was just, yeah, feeling lonely. Let me go eat something. Feeling upset. let me go have some cookies, a snacking in between. It was mainly the snacking in between. Those were the times that I was, after school feeling upset. Let me go eat something. Let me have that ice cream. Let me have those cookies. Yeah, so it was, just relying on food, I guess, to make me feel better. Because when you eat and you try something new, you feel good. After you have that cheeseburger or those fries, like, yeah, yummy, you feel so good. But then after that good feeling, you go back to, like, I feel lonely, or like, I feel upset, I feel sad. And it's like, okay, I want to feel good again. So let me have some cookies again. So it was like a whole cycle of like trying to just rely on that to make me feel better. And that went on for like months and months and months and months and months until I was like, you know what, you need to do something about this because it's not funny anymore. You're gaining so much weight. I don't like the way my body looks. I don't like the way I feel. Like my clothes that I brought from back home, it was not fitting me. I had to get new clothes. And I was like, oh, this is getting too much. Like I need to do something. And I think that was the time when I was like, okay, let's try something. Otherwise, this is not going to change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of adults can relate to that feeling of like just leaning into food for the comfort. And you get to a place where I think as a teenager, it's even harder. Like you're still kind of not comfortable in your body. You're growing into that, and not having that guidance there. And I think that carries into a lot of women's lives as adults. We still don't have those tools to go, well, okay, how do I combat turning to food? And especially like women who have kids and we're sleep deprived, it's like, I just want to feel good for a second, like you said. So it's like a vicious cycle. And I think that you managing to recognize that at such a young age is incredible, like to have that awareness, because not a lot of people do. Not that it's a bad thing. Sometimes we develop that later in life, but what was the next step? What made you make a change and think, I just want to feel better? Because by the sounds of things, you weren't feeling very good.
Yeah, I don't know if I was back then. I don't know if I was 100% sure that food was my coping mechanism. Like now looking back, I know, but back then, I don't think I knew that. I just knew that exercise is going to help me with this. Exercise is going to help me lose body fat. And that's when I joined the gym. So the gym was like, maybe it's like a 5 minutes or like 10 minutes walk from my house. I remember I joined the gym with my sister and my two cousins. We used to go like after school there. And yeah, obviously had no clue about anything to do with fitness. I didn't know how to use the machines. I didn't know how to use equipment. I was very, very shy. So I didn't want to, go up to someone and be like, hey, how do you use this machine or this equipment? I was like, no, this is not for me. So I would just go to the gym and I joined literally all the classes that they had: Zumba, yoga, Pilates, spin. There was another class called pump, boxing. So it was like 6 or 7 classes that I would go every single week. And that's when I started, I guess my obsession with training. And I say obsession because it got to the point that it was really obsession. It was not a healthy obsession. It became a very unhealthy obsession. But I think I found that exercise was my only coping mechanism, so I don't feel too lonely. So I kind of I didn't replace food, but I just had 2 different coping mechanisms. Food was my number 1 and exercise was my number 2. So those 2 were like my go-to every time I felt upset, every time I had like those emotions, I was experiencing those emotions. And yeah, that's when literally everything started. So at the age of, I would say 15, maybe roughly that time. Yeah, roughly around 15.
Wow. And I'm sure that they carried on, because you talk about it taking you, and for you guys who haven't seen Daniella's physique, it's pretty incredible. It's many hard work, but you said it took you 10 years to get to build a physique that you felt comfortable in and felt really good in. But before that, before you even started competing, it was like more extremes happening. And you said like that obsession started building. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, and I think that was because at that time before competing, I was just doing all by myself. And
Right.
when you're doing something by yourself, and I was so young, I didn't have the right tools. I didn't have any guidance at all. My only guidance was Google, YouTube. I don't think we had Instagram back then, but yeah, it was when
Magazine.
yeah, magazines,
Yeah.
magazines. And literally that was like, those were my go-to to look up information, what exercises should I be doing? What diets should I be following to help me lose body fat? What things should I be doing? What things I shouldn't be doing? And that was a time when all the trial and errors happened. And by this, I mean, I tried all the different diets I can think about. I tried keto, I tried fasting, I tried paleo diet, I tried I think I even was like vegetarian for like a little bit. I tried just so many different things because I was like, okay, this is not helping me. But then when I try something, it will be for a very short period of time because it was so unrealistic. So I was like, I don't like this. Let me try something else. This is not working. But obviously, it was not the diet. It was me. It was me that I was only sticking to that diet for a very short period of time. I was very impatient. I was not seeing results. I will go back to just eating whatever and then let me try again. Let me try something else. And same with my training. That's why I joined all those classes. I was not really doing strength training. It was mainly just the classes. But then when I decided to let me try some of the equipment, going to YouTube, okay, workout for women that want to lose body fat, or like a 30-minute workout for women that want to lose body fat. And back then, there's still so many, but I would just literally copy and paste everything. Okay. And because I didn't know the exercises, I remember I would have like my little paper and I will draw with my pen shoulder press. So like a little stick person doing a shoulder press. So I remember what's a shoulder press. A squat, little stick person doing the squat. So I will remember how to do the squats. And yeah, that's how I started with the workouts. And my workouts would take me maybe like 2-3 hours, not even joking. Because I was at a school, I was not working, so I had the time. So I would go after school, or sometimes even before school. Before school, I will do the classes. After school, I will do my strength training. So I was even training twice a day. And yeah, it just became too much. Long hours, lots of exercise, wasting time. Back then I thought I was not wasting time, but now I can see I was wasting so much time. I was depriving myself so much from food, but I had my moments, my cycles. Sometimes I will be very extremely strict with my food, and then other times I will just be eating whatever. And also there was one time and I think that's when I hit rock bottom, about maybe when I was 16. I cannot remember exactly what age, but I was still very young. And because nothing was working, I was like, you know what? I feel like my only option right now is to make myself throw up. And I literally got to that point that I would like go to the bathroom, play some music on my phone so my mom wouldn't listen to me or my sister wouldn't hear what I was doing, put my finger down my throat and force myself to throw up. And I was doing that for maybe about 3 months. And it was literally disgusting because one, is not a good feeling. Two, you feel like shit. Can I swear here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you feel like shit. And three, it was just not healthy for your body and for your mind. Because every time we eat something, run to the bathroom, put my finger down, force myself, and it's that, that burning sensation or that taste of like your own vomit when you want to throw up. Yeah, so that was going on for about, I'll say like roughly, again, it's just roughly, but roughly 3 months or about that. And likely no one knew about this. Like my mom didn't find out. My sister didn't find out. But one day I was just like, what are you doing? Like I look at myself in the mirror and I was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, how can you keep doing this to yourself? Like, do you really want to live this life? Putting that finger down your throat every single day after you eat something, after you enjoy that food, and then throwing everything up. I was like, you got to stop this right now. So I had that little check-in with myself. And I think that was very mature of me of doing that because I was still very young. I had that little, yeah, I don't know how it happened. It just happened. Maybe I saw something or I saw someone, I don't know, but it just happened. And then after that, I was a little bit more careful with my food. I was still not 100% because I didn't have the guidance. So I was still trying different things, but I just knew that putting my finger down, it was just not an option. I tried different things, but I was like, I'm not doing this again. I've tried this. I will never, ever, ever again in my life. And I told myself, like, I promise you, I will never do this to you. Yeah, so I think that was the time that I was like, shit, this is getting very intense and this is getting very unhealthy. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh, like that's just heartbreaking. Like, especially me now as a mom, like I just think if my girls did that without me noticing, I find that so heartbreaking. It's like, it just goes to show that especially back then, I remember being younger and wanting to do the cabbage soup diet and all sorts of crazy stuff, like even in school, because we had been so preconditioned to be smaller, have a smaller body. I think through the media, through magazines, through everything, it was like, be smaller, smaller, smaller. Like that was the thing before social media. All we had was like Victoria's Secret model show and like things like that to look at, and all these Photoshop models that we didn't know at the time were Photoshopped, in magazines. And it's wild that, it does turn into this obsession, especially without guidance, like you said, that, oh, it's not working, when maybe in fact it was working. You just didn't give it long enough, like of time, that we now know, you know, that's a big thing that a lot of people struggle with. But it just goes to show that if you're in that place where it's like, it's not working, the next extreme thing, I have to work harder, I have to make it more extreme, more and more and more and more. It can be really easy to get into that place. I've been through a similar thing, not quite to that extent, but it's, and even more as an adult and not as a young girl, like that's even more like, it's crazy. I'm just so surprised you had that wake up call at such a young age. It's wild. Like, okay, so with that being said, like you then started in competing and you took like those next steps. So what got you then from where you were at rock bottom into health and fitness seriously? Because you said you didn't have a structure, you were just kind of like trying to figure it out. How did you figure out like, I need help? Like, when did that happen?
Yeah. So then after that, I think we moved houses, we moved to a new gym, and that's when I started doing more research on YouTube and Google. So it was not the best, but it was a little bit better than before. I had a better structure than before, random structure, but better structure than before. And then one day, I would say 10 years later, roughly that time, me and my friend went to a bodybuilding show. And just randomly, my friend was like, I'm going here. Do you want to come? I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, why not bodybuilding? So I went to the show with no expectations. I didn't even think about competing because I was like, I would never compete. Like, that's too extreme. I don't want to be that girl using the scale. I don't want to be that girl saying no to, my friend's house or whatever. But then I turned out to be that girl. But yeah, that day we went to the show and I just fell in love. Like when I saw those girls on a stage, I was like, wow, like this is incredible. Like I respect you so much just for being on that stage in front of everyone, looking so amazing and obviously working on this big goal of yours. I was like, I want that. I want that. I was like, I really want to be on that stage. Only that day, I was like, I really want to be on that stage. And then there was this girl that I really, really liked on stage. And I found out later that she was a coach. So I was like, you know what? Let me reach out to her. And let me reach out to her, see, if she can help me somehow. And oh no, sorry. No, before I reach out to her, I reach out to another coach. So I was working with this coach, like my first ever coach, because I knew like if I want to step on a stage, I need someone to guide me. I don't know what I'm doing. I need that structure. So I reached out to this coach and I was working with him for about 4 months or maybe 5 months, but it was just so unhealthy. He had me on maybe 1,900 calories because it was only those few months before the show. So he wanted me to compete that year. I only just signed up with him and he wanted me to compete that year. And I looked extremely skinny. Like I need to show you pictures, but I looked extremely skinny. Like my face was so skinny. I didn't even have any muscle mass. I was just like looking like a skeleton. And I was like, I don't like this. Like, I don't want to jump on that stage looking like this. Also because I had those expectations of looking at different girls, pictures from different girls overseas when they jump on the stage, Olympia, which obviously those were very high expectations. But I was like, I want my body to look like that. Right now, I look like I have got chicken legs and like I have no muscle mass and nothing. I don't want to jump on a stage like this. This is embarrassing. I don't like this. So I decided not to compete and I decided to work with a different coach because that coach kept telling me like, you should do it, you should do it, you should do it. And to me, it just felt like, I think you just want my money. I don't think you truly want to help me. And that's the problem with some coaches. I think that's something that we talk about all the time. Like some coaches just want your money. They don't really care about you. They don't really care that they're messing up with your health. They don't care about anything. As long as you pay them, they will take that money.
The red
So yeah,
flag.
exactly. That was a red flag.
It's so interesting. Like I relate to your story so much because it sounds like you said like, oh, I'm going into competing, which is extreme, but you were already doing such extreme things to your body. And I was the same. I used to do like crazy stuff where I just wouldn't eat or I don't know, just eat cabbage or like whatever. It was so crazy, whatever the next fad was, right? Because we just had Google to tell us. I remember detox diets and all sorts of stuff. But then the next thing, I was the same, saw like a bikini contest. I was like, I want to do that. That's so cool. But it was like then one extreme went to the next extreme.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happened, and it's kind of a slippery slope with competing. You have to be really careful who you are coached with. And I love that you recognize, like, hey, I don't feel good like this. My body doesn't feel good. Unfortunately, I did not. And I was like, yeah, the smaller the better. Like, this is great.
Oh,
I know, but
yeah.
we now know better. It's fine. But
Yeah.
it's really great that you recognize that someone didn't have your best interest, and that you wanted to feel good. So what kind of got you from that to, did you step on stage? What happened? Because you said you built your dream body, your dream physique. Like, where did that come in?
Yeah, but it took me a lot of time. So after
Yeah.
that coach, I decided to work with the coach, that the girl that I saw on stage, that I found out that she was also a coach. I reached out to her and then we started working together. But she knew that I was not happy with my body. And she also knew that I had a lot of work to do. So we worked on building that foundation first, building more muscle mass first before we jumped on the stage. So that's what I liked about her. Like, she listened to me and she understood where I was coming from. So we took a bit longer with the prep, but we just made sure that we were taking the right steps to help me get used to that routine of, like, prepping your meals, all of that, but also making sure we gain more muscle mass. And then after that, yeah, I stayed with her. I did 3 competitions. But the thing, like, on those competitions, like, after my first prep, you kind of know what to expect before the prep, because you've been doing it for 1 week, 2 months, 3 months, 12 weeks, 20 weeks, or whatever. But then you don't really know what to expect after the prep.
Yes.
And that's when things for me went, like, crazy once again. Yeah, you go from, like, looking so lean, looking amazing, being so, like, goal driven, being so motivated to jump on that stage. You jump on that stage, you feel great. The day after, the week after, the weeks after the show, I just went, like, literally, like, downhill. I was up here and then I went, like, really quick, like 0 to 100, because your mind goes crazy. You want to eat everything, even things that you don't like. You're like, I didn't have this before, like, let me have it. Like, you literally eat everything. I was binging once again. I was binging nonstop. Like, my body will tell me, stop eating, you're so full. No, I want to keep eating. I haven't had this for a long time. I deserve this. And that's how I felt. I was like, I deserve this food. I worked so hard for this. I
Yes.
deserve. And yeah, it was like a whole cycle that it was for months. And I feel like that was harder than prepping for the show. I think prepping for the show was, like, the easy part.
Yeah.
But what happened after the show was, like, the real struggle and, like, the challenge, because the relationship that you have with food after the show, it's very unhealthy, very crazy.
Mhm.
And yeah, it took me months after binging. I even had to get help from, like, a counselor, because I was like, this is getting too much. This is, like, getting out of control again. But yeah, after that, after months of, like, work, I was more stable. And because I'm a little bit crazy, I was like, let's do another competition. And then I decided to compete again in 1 year. So 2 competitions in 1 year. And they were only, like, 2 weeks apart. And that again was crazy, because
Yeah.
imagine being very low calories for such a long time. And then in between the 2 shows, the calories were even lower, because you want to maintain that very lean physique. So yeah, even that was crazy. But after my last show, it was a little bit better than the first show, because I was more mature. I knew how to make better choices. We had a better plan for after the show, so it was better. But yeah, only after that is when I was feeling much better about my physique. And see, that's how many years of
Yeah.
when I started this journey until I competed. It's like years and years and years. And it's crazy, because often, and I know you have the same problem, like, when clients come to us, they want to get that dream body in just 3 months or just 6 months. But it's like, it takes longer. Like, it takes way longer than that. Obviously, it doesn't have to take you 10 years like it took me, but it takes way longer than just 3 months to see the changes that you want to see. But the one thing that I've learned from competing, or I guess the main thing, is that we need to be patient. If you want to get those results, you have to be patient. And patience is something that I'm using for my business as well. Because if you don't have patience, you're simply not going to grow. If you don't have, yeah, I will say patience is the main thing. So yeah, that's kind of like a quick overview of my journey of, like, competing, how I was here and then I went down here and then up here. Yeah, it was a struggle.
It's wild. And it just goes to show, like, I was the same after, especially after the first show, because there was not really any support then of, all right, let's make a plan after the show, because you don't know what to expect. You don't really know to ask your coach. The coaches weren't, I think as an industry overall, a lot of coaches were much better as coaches now too. We know like what to expect. It's like, oh, I did the same. I gained like 10 kilos and you feel horrible. And it's not, people might think, oh, that's not that much weight. But when you've gone from being like so lean, so crazy lean, and just gaining 2 kilos is like, whoa, like this feels really foreign because you've been so lean for so long. But it's not just that, it's like your psychology around food, like you said, like you have good foods, bad foods, you view foods differently. It's hard to go, how do we be normal? That's the biggest thing. It's like, we've gone from this extreme prep life. And then, like you said, oh, I want to do another show. And I found, like, reflecting back, I'm like, did I really want to do another show, or was I just trying to be lean again? Because I fell off the wagon, so to speak. So I didn't know how to adjust back into the norm, or what even normal looked like anymore. Like, what did that look like? And I think something that, like you said, it's taken us years to get to a place where we feel balanced, happy, pretty good, and still a work in progress every day. But we didn't have anyone to show us, right? We had to kind of figure most of it out ourselves, which is why it took so long. Even though now, like, it still takes time, you can fast track with like good guidance, I think, and that's what's important. But I'd love to hear more about it coming from extremes before competing, extremes during competing, because we all know that is an extreme process. No matter how healthily, quote unquote, you want to do that, it's still an extreme thing that isn't for everybody, and you have to consider all the consequences, right? But now you're in this wonderful place where you're helping other women achieve their dream bodies. You're in this wonderful balanced place. Your physique looks like, I think, the best you've ever looked. Like, you look wonderful. Like, where are you now? Like, how have we got to here?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of reflection and a lot of like having check-ins with myself. Because after my last competition, sorry, I was like, do I really want to keep competing because I want to keep competing, or do I want to keep competing because my coach is telling me that I look good and I should keep competing? Because I think like when I competed, the second time I competed, I don't know if it was because I truly want to do it. I think it was more because my coach was like, you look amazing, you should do another one. Yep, let's do it. So yeah, looking back or like thinking back about that time, I wouldn't say it was pressure because she was not pressuring me to do something, but I just feel that I felt that, if she's saying I'm good, I should do another one. But it wasn't really like I truly want to do it. So I think just having that check-in with myself and be like, do I really want to keep competing or not? And when I had that conversation, I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I really don't want to keep doing this. As much as I love the sport at that time, as much as I respect people that do it, this is not for me. I don't want to live a life of suffering for weeks and weeks and weeks, literally weeks, to be on that stage for just 5 seconds. What do I get out of this? Like, that balance was very unbalanced for me. I was like, I do so much just to be on that stage, but I don't get too much. The only thing that I get is those nice pictures, maybe a protein powder if you're lucky, but nothing else. Like, you don't really get anything that, to me, it just wasn't worth it.
Right.
So after I realized that like it's just not worth it. You did it, you tried it, you had that experience, it's just not worth it. I think after that, and taking that relief of my shoulders that I don't have to compete again, that's when I found that balance. And that's when I realized to like slowly, it's okay to have this burger if I feel like having it. It's okay to have this lollipop if I want to have it. This is not going to make me gain 20 kgs in just one day. This is not going to make me go back to square one in just one day. So I think slowly also like incorporating more foods into my diet, being okay with that, taking that guilt out of when I had that ice cream, taking that guilt of like, this is gonna make me gain weight. Like, why did I have that? It's like, no, Daniela, you enjoy that ice cream. Like, you truly love ice cream because I truly love ice cream. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with enjoying that. Yeah. And I think just slowly working on that, like slowly taking that guilt, slowly trying to change that fear of this is gonna make me gain body fat to actually, I really want to have this. And also having those check-ins with myself. I talk to myself a lot all the time. So I think having those check-ins, it does help you so much because you have that little conversation with yourself. And then you ask yourself questions like, do I really want to have this? Am I just craving this because I'm upset? Is this my coping mechanism? Or do I really want to enjoy this ice cream right here? So I think having that, has truly helped me find that balance. doing this for a very long time has also helped me find the right balance, because I try all the different things. And I also realized that extremes never work. Extremes didn't work for me. And for what I've seen with my clients, extremes doesn't work with anyone. It's just crazy. So I think realizing that as well, working with different women as well, I think helps me so much, because you see different journeys, you see different people. So I think it was a mix of everything. But I will say the main thing, which was just taking that pressure off my shoulders of not competing, being okay with that, and also understanding that food is just food. It's not the enemy. There's not such a thing as good or bad, healthy and unhealthy. Food is just fuel. Food is pleasure, and it's something we should be enjoying it to an extent. Nothing extremes don't work. Everything in moderation is key. And I know it's easy for me to say that now. And if you're struggling with this, it's not that easy to understand that. But trust me, just give it some time. And also having guidance, I would say, working with a coach that understands you, and working with a coach that doesn't put pressure on you. Because when you have that external pressure, it gets too much. It gets too much. It's just, and that's when it can get unhealthy, and that's when it can get extreme. But having someone that understands you, having someone that you look up to, you respect, I would say a combination of all those things are the things that have helped me find this balance and enjoy the ice cream without feeling guilty, or enjoy going out, or let's say on a holiday, or going on a holiday for 1 month, and not being too careful or too mindful with what I'm eating, and just knowing that doesn't want to take me back to square one. This is only for 1 month. When I go back home, I'm gonna go back to my routine. But again, it was a lot of time. A very, very long time.
Trial and error, many years of that. I did the same, many years of like, I think it came from initially, it sounds like with you two, you're like, I'm going to actually give myself permission to eat those foods. Because I think even anyone listening, it's like not just if you have competed before. I think if you have come from even just where Daniella was prior to competing, like just being in that cycle of extremes, or the next diet, or cutting out like carbs, or whatever you want to, like however you approach it, like cutting out something or doing something extreme, that has such negative consequences. It's like a domino effect over time. I think that's what it was like with you. And then competing was an extreme thing, but I think it brought you a lot of awareness, which was like, actually, you got a lot of good things out of it in the long run. But it's like giving yourself permission to go, I'm allowed to eat all foods if I want to. And just really believing that to your core, rather than there's good foods, bad foods, especially with social media now and like nutrition. It's like everyone's saying this is bad, don't eat broccoli. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, to be able to have that freedom and that weight lifted off your shoulders, the stress that takes away, for you to be able to then hone in on, how do I actually feel? And like, how do I want to feel? I'm sure it sounds like that was a big game changer, like for everything for you moving forward.
It was 100%, because now I can go to, let's say, my uncle's house, my cousin's house. I can enjoy something, and I feel good about that. Like I actually, like, I'm at that point that I enjoy food. Before, it was more like guilt. Before, it was more like, I shouldn't be having this, but I'm craving this. It was that guilt and that feeling of, oh, why did I have this? Like, why? But now it's like, you know what? I'm really enjoying this. So it is like a big game changer, because food is everywhere. Food, we eat it, we need to have it every single day, not just for pleasure, but for survival. So food is gonna be in my life, in our lives, for the rest of our lives, obviously. So like you say, having that permission and having that acceptance was the big changer for me. It has changed my life so much. I feel so relieved. I feel like I can truly enjoy my life. I know it sounds crazy, but I don't feel that food is controlling me anymore. I feel like I have the control. I took the control back, and I'm not letting anything control me or anything bother me too much. And that's, once you get to that place where we are right now, it makes your life much easier, and it makes your life much more enjoyable. And it may sound silly to even say that, like, how can food change you so much? But it does, especially because when you had such an unhealthy relationship with food, like we did, or like I did, when you were binging so much, when you made yourself throw up, when you had all these different cycles of restrictions, it does make a huge difference. So
Oh my gosh, 100%. And you know what? Like, I know that we went through such a long journey to learn like our lessons, but I kind of would never take it back because I feel like it helps me so much understand my clients and where they're at. And not just that, but like I think that's where the passion came from, to want to coach other women, to be like, hey, you don't have to go through what I went through. Like I went through the tough grit. So you don't have to. Like, let me show you an easier way. Like, is that kind of how you feel when you're coaching your clients?
100%. Like when my clients come to me and they're like, let's say too fixated with the numbers on the scale. And when we look at the pictures, they look amazing, but those numbers go up, there's different factors. And when they tell me that, like, Danny, I'm putting on so much weight, I'm like, I hear you. I know exactly how you feel because I've been there before.
Yeah.
And you're able to relate so much because those are all the things or all the mistakes that I've done myself. So it's like, I hear you, like, I can 100% know how you feel right now or why you're telling me. But I also know that having that mindset is not going to help you. It didn't help me, so it's not going to help you. So why don't we try this? Or how about we change this? So it's trying to help them with different tools that also we have learned. Because obviously what has worked for me doesn't mean that it's going to work for them, but just trying different things and see what works better for them because we are all different. But yeah, that has been a game changer as well for my coaching, like you said. And I also wouldn't change anything. Like I wouldn't change anything. As much as I didn't like my body at that time, as much as I was very unhappy at that time, now I can use those tools with other people, with other women, to help them reach their fitness goals and to make their journey a little bit shorter because it doesn't have to be that long, like our journey, like 10 years plus. It doesn't have to be that long. Once you have the right guidance and the right tools, we only do little changes here and there to make this a lifestyle because that's what's all about, making it a lifestyle and making this something sustainable, nothing crazy, no competing here, no quick fixes, no nothing, just something nice and sustainable.
Absolutely. And that's where you guys listening, it's like, it doesn't have to take you 10 years like us, but we didn't have all the
Yeah.
resources, right? It's available now. It can take you a much shorter time, and that's where I love, like, there's no one size fits all. And I think that's a big thing. It's like when you are, obviously fat loss is a big priority for a lot of women that come and talk to us. But it's not just about the fat loss, and we're not just here to be like, all right, let's just get the weight off no matter what, whatever expense that is. Like you said, we've been through that struggle, especially you, like very deep in that struggle and in the extremes. We've both been there, so I can relate to you a lot. And it's like we know what the extremes do long term. We know what the consequences are. We want to get you to looking your best, but it doesn't have to be miserable. And it doesn't have to be miserable, and it can be enjoyable and sustainable, and you can do it long term. I feel like I don't think we're anybody special, right? Like we're the same as everybody else. We've just learned to implement these things from all the all the mistakes we've made. So I'd love to know, do you feel like you're in the happiest place you've been? Because I feel like you are. Like when I see you on Instagram, like, coming from all of that, you're helping women. Like, talk to me a bit more quickly about where you're at right now and how does life look?
Yeah, I will say 100%. I will say I am definitely like the happiest I've ever been with my physique, with my relationship with food, with my relationship with training as well. Because before I used to feel like if I don't work out for 2 days, I'm going to lose all my gains. If I don't complete my cardio, I'm going to gain so much body fat. So yeah, again, it was all the extremes, not just with food, but also with training. But now I'm in a place that if I don't train for whatever reason, let's say I have an injury or whatever, that's okay. Like 1 week of the gym, 2 weeks of the gym, even if it has to be 1 month, it's not going to take me back to square one. So yeah, I feel happy about that. Finally, I can honestly breathe and say like I have that balance. It's not perfect. Obviously, nothing is perfect. I don't believe that anything will ever be perfect, but it's much, much better than before. And something else that you said before is like it's not that we know better than you. It's just we just one step forward, one step ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're here, we're just one step ahead of you. And that's why we have those tools to help you get to that next level. But yeah, with my clients also just helping them understand that it takes time. We need to be patient. We need to be patient. We just need that right guidance. We need the right tools. And I think I would say I'm very, very happy with everything, like with the way my clients are succeeding, with the way things are going, with my own training, with my business. I think I found that place that is more stable. It's not so like shaky like before, it's more stable. But something that I think has helped me so much, and I probably mentioned this before, is that being through that journey of my fitness has helped me. It's helping me with my journey with my business.
Yes.
Because people don't understand that, but all the struggles that you go through or you went through with your fitness journey, it made you become someone that's stronger, more resilient. You overcome challenges a little bit better than before. Again, not perfect, but better than before. So all the things that I've learned from that journey, I'm honestly applying everything that I've learned to this new journey, which is my business. And it's helping me so much. And I'm just happy that I'm able to take that knowledge or take that wisdom that I have, apply to this new adventure, and just keep pushing myself and just, make sure that I'm being very patient, that I'm putting in the work, that I know that I'm not gonna reach the goals, my business goals that I have straight away. It's gonna take time, exactly how it took time for my body to change. It's gonna be the same time with my business, and I'm okay with that. And also being okay with that and accepting that, it makes me feel more relief, because I'm not putting too much pressure on myself. I'm not setting unrealistic goals for myself. I'm being very realistic. Yes, pushing myself obviously, but not to the extreme. And just, yeah, I guess enjoying life. And it's a good
Enjoying the
feeling.
process. Like
Yeah.
when you're like, oh, I don't have to go like ham on this. It's like, okay, I'm enjoying the whole process. It's so funny too. I found that too. It's like, all right, what do I need to do with business? Oh, you need to be consistent with XYZ. Oh, it's the same as fitness. Like I literally feel like
Exactly.
overcoming, like being in a great place with my health and fitness journey. Once you kind of like learn those habits, behaviors you need to do for you, you can apply that to your whole life. And that's what I feel like as well. It's like literally applies to everything. So, if you're struggling with your health and fitness, like that can actually be detrimental to a lot of other things in your life. And, you have to take care of you, and you can apply that to everything else, which is awesome. I love it. I love everything you're doing. I love watching your journey. Can you please give actually one piece, if you were to give one piece of advice to anybody listening today, what would that be?
I will say don't rush the process. Just baby steps. And that's probably the last thing that you want to hear right now. If you want to, get to that ideal body weight or gain that muscle mass, whatever your goal is, just take it one step at a time. Don't rush anything. The moment that you're trying to rush something, that's the moment that things get messy and you go back to square one. If you stay patient, if you take your time, if you go one step at a time and you don't put too much pressure on yourself, trust me, that's the moment when things are going to get better, when you're going to start getting more results, and then you're going to find that happy place and you're going to have that balance. I will say, I've got so many things to tell you guys, but the main thing,
right?
just be patient. Honestly, that's the thing that, again, you will not only learn with your fitness journey, but you will be able to apply this to your career, to your relationships, to your business if you have one, to anything that you do in life. Don't rush it. One step at a time.
I love that. It's so true. It sounds like, the last thing you want to hear, but like it's true when you apply it. I love it. I love being able to chat with you. I want to please let everyone know where they can find you if they want to learn more about you.
Yeah, thank you. If you guys want to find me, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the social media at Daniella Del Carpio. So that's DANIELLADELCARPIO. I know, very long. Sorry, my dad's last name is very long. But yeah, you can find me there. And I've got a lot of content that you guys can like scroll through and see everything, all the tips that we share. But thank you so much, Nina. I really, really enjoyed this. And thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. I've loved chatting with you, and I think we can dive a little bit deeper into some other avenues, even maybe about competing another time. I love it. Thank you so much. And you guys listening, I really hope that you've got something out of this episode. Don't ever be afraid to connect with us. We're always happy to chat with you all about your goals or whatever you're struggling with. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.